on my end. Okay.
I don't know what just happened. Sorry.
Okay. I apologize. Just said recording stopped. Okay. Thank you so much. I apologize. So this is a great resource here to be able to use as well. That is preparing for the exam. So once again, at your leisure this week and before we meet again next week, please feel free to familiarize yourself with all these resources, because one thing we want to make certain that you all know is where these resources are, and truly that you have them at your fingertips, and what, how they can assist you. This one here is a sim dictionary. Again, it's a PDF file. I have the original one, I think, and we also have kind of meeting for going forward. A lot of our colleagues who have attended in live sessions in the Zoom Moodle have really gone through that dictionary to kind of look at those. What are those terms that I might need to be familiar with? And then here's the code of ethics as well. And then here's how the modules are broken down. And I think, do y'all have any questions about the breakdown of the course? I know Hannah asked earlier, but some of y'all might have popped on after she had asked that. Okay, so I'm going to, again, I apologize for the whiplash. I'm going to move back to sharing my screen for this. And we're going to do an application. Okay, so kind of reset yourself a little bit. I'm going to give you just about 2 minutes to read the slide. And what we're going to look at here is if you're on an elevator and you're giving your elevator pitch in 30 seconds, what is your pitch to share about your program? Okay. So main things about this and how this applies to the exam blueprint and kind of learning more about preparing for the exam is, what are some demographics that you have at your center? What about psychological safety? What about patient safety? How about educational modalities, if there's time to include in your elevator speech? So this kind of applies to, we have a sim center, but what are the main things about your sim center that you would like to share? And what I'd like to do, I'll just give it another minute while y'all are kind of thinking about it, is have a few of y'all, if you feel comfortable in this space to do so, either type it out, or it'd be lovely to have y'all introduce your 30-second speech or elevator pitch, right, to us as a team. So just let me give it another minute while y'all might be thinking. And if anybody would like to share or have a discussion about elevator pitch, I'd be happy to have you do so. Okay, so I'm going to put you all in a situation. We are at the IMSH conference, and you all are in the elevator with me and other friends. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I saw you in my course. Or, hey, I saw your badge. You're coming to the conference. Tell me about your program. Who would like to share? Okay, that's okay if you don't want to share. And let me see if we might have in the chat here. Okay, great. Thank you so much. So we have one that the Simulation Center is a place where students can practice clinical reasoning and skills in a safe environment. Fabulous. Thank you. So at my Sim Center, we focus on this. And you're getting the overall picture of, when you think about a Sim Center, what are those essential components that you have? We all want to know where your Sim Center is. What does that look like? But what, universally wise too, will this Sim Center help you make a connection with somebody, right? But also keeping in mind those tenets of when you're preparing for the exam. All right, I'm going to move ahead and go to the next slide. So when we think about application, you all have a subject matter expert who would like to understand, okay, they'd like to understand their role in the simulation experience. So this SME has been asked as an expert to create a simulation or participate in a sim experience. What would be the best way to address the question as a simulation educator? So I'll let you all read the question again. And what would you all respond? How would you respond to this question? I'm going to go ahead and read some of the notes. Okay, cool. I'm just backtracking. So when y'all have a minute in the chat too, we have a couple more exemplars about nursing education experiences as well as their sim centers. Okay, so when we're thinking about the subject matter expert, what is y'all's definition, or what do you think the subject matter expert is there for? How do we normally think of a subject matter expert?
Kelly, do we say they're like content experts, and sometimes they are more of a clinical experts, in the field?
Yes, excellent. Thank you so much. You're right. So they're the ones, if I am going to be the simulation educator, and maybe my practice area is adult critical care neurotrauma, and I am then asked to create a simulation for a pediatric assessment course. Wow, peds is way out of my realm, right? So I would then go to my experts in that subject matter, who could be from our clinical background, our education background, our advanced practice colleagues, depending on that role. So let me kind of see in the chat as well. Yeah, so expert in their field. It could also be according to the evidence. So when we're thinking about the SME, we really want them to make sure that they understand their role in maintaining psychological safety. What is their experience that they have? And then what is the simulation program's expectation of the subject matter expert, right? So if they're coming in, you need to make sure that you communicate clearly what their role should be as a member of developing this curricular activity as well, the simulation. And what are the expectations to complete facilitator training if they need to? So an SME could be somebody that you utilize if they are just a subject matter expert. If they are going to be somebody who's going to be a facilitator, that they also understand the theory, the processes, and that training expectations as a facilitator. Okay. So if they're a novice or new to the program, then do y'all think you'd want to train them? Should they be trained?
Yes.
I'm seeing some head nods. Yeah, because we're learning how valuable that facilitation part is. We've known for years, how do we facilitate that? How do we stay in line with our SMART goals, our objectives for the simulation? How about having the SME experts be observers for the first couple of sims?
Mm-hmm.
You think that's practical? Yeah, I think that helps them get used to the environment, right? So helping them have that psychological well-being rather than, hey, go ahead and you're up, right? And then also making sure that they're aware of that physical environment. Where are things, if I'm going to be the expert, well, what am I working with? Am I in a rural setting? Am I in a hospital? Do I have a lot of resources? What does that look like? I've been in a sim center before where I actually used the phone and dialed out because they said, oh, you can use the phone. Well, it called the emergency medical people, right, of the hospital. I'm like, I didn't know that. Nobody told me cancel, right? So it's one of those things, like if you call the code button. So when you're thinking about sharing about experiences, thank you, Ashley. You've been asked to share your expertise and experience in the area to make sure you're planning everything according to the current evidence. Perfect. I think that's great. When we have those discussions too, when we think about their role at your center, um, think about their role in the mindset of application of this exam. If you're going to have a new educator come in, this would also be a clinical educator. Say a clinical faculty member came in, they said, I want to take over and facilitate the class today. Well, wait a minute. Maybe their expertise about the simulation-based education environment. Do they understand those principles? So kind of put your hat on as that educator role of the simulation expert to kind of identify what are those items that you need to prepare all those SMEs with, okay? When we also think about debriefing too, right? So when you think about the SME's role, if they're facilitator, will they be involved in debriefing? Once again, we want to make sure that they understand in totality what debriefing is as well. And then also, what about the basic assumptions and ethics and basic assumptions that we all have regarding our learners to make sure that they're aware of everybody being treated fairly, equitable, and that safe learning environment. So this is kind of an application piece where you can take those concepts of the blueprints and apply them to an example. Questions about this application? Okay, how we doing? Smile emojis, maybe? Okay, hanging in there. Okay. So this first one, next time after y'all get really delved into the course, I'll be doing less talking and we'll be having more conversational item pieces, I believe, too. So one of the things I want to introduce here is another application question. So I'll read it and then give you all a minute to think about it as well. Is you are creating a new simulation event for one of your user groups. How do you guarantee content accuracy during every curriculum build? And then what are reference sources that you find helpful in your practice? So the first thing I'd like to tackle is how do you guarantee content accuracy during every curriculum build? What are some points of interest that you all could share with our teams and our colleagues today? So credible resources, evidence-based practice. Sometimes people use crosswalks as well. Simulation design templates as well to help them for that. Kind of what are the objectives? What are the level of the learner that you're learning as well? Okay. So what are your procedures and policies that you have in place for your curriculum? Okay. To make certain that every time you start a new user group or a new simulation and you're designing, that you use those same tenets kind of over and over. However, it's a template, right? You take that tried and true and that best practices template and you apply it into that new realm. But you all have that same understanding of this is how we set up our processes. This is it can't be done overnight, right? Our colleagues who are enthusiastic about sim, who we want to embrace and have simulations say, tomorrow I want to do this. Well, we're going to learn more about what pilot testing, right? What are all the things that could go possibly wrong that we need to look at? So really having that tried and true process as well as procedural elements to build curriculum. So kind of think of curriculum design. I'm going to go to the chat here too, those credible resources. So when we think about credible resources, CINAHL's PubMed. So CINAHL is a curriculum for cumulative index for nursing that is used a lot. PubMed is more that medicine focused. A needs assessment, yes. So when we start looking at templates, consistency of scenarios, needs assessments, how do we fit the need? We're just not, let's just have fun and create a scenario, right? So kind of what's that purpose? We have to put that educator cap on. So when we think about this should also look at kind of those credible resources that y'all put on there. Who has a favorite place they go to for credible resources or a website that you'd like to share with our colleagues today? So we had CINAHL, PubMed, Medscape Portal, ASPE, excellent. My colleagues who might be from overseas as well, I kind of look at also like our up to date. Two of y'all put that really quickly up there. I know there is Healthy Sims. There is a Simzine International that also is an article base, but it provides references, peer-reviewed journal articles, right? So your academic institution will have your libraries for those resources as well. Any others that you all would like to share? Okay, so we've collected a few for you all, and these are some you've already also offered us today. So again, we want to look at specific questions about credible resources. So here are those terms. Are they accurate? Are they reliable? And are they trustworthy? So especially when we think about peer-reviewed and journals and such, as we are consumers of using the research to guide evidence-based practice and to put into to translate it into use. Are they using reliable instruments? Are the resources been tried and true? Are they peer-reviewed areas? So here's some common sites used that we can also gear you towards. Okay. Here's another application question. So you're a simulation educator for a group of undergraduate learners. So this is the undergraduate space, whatever your program is, you can put it into mine, but they're all undergraduate students or learners. All the cohorts for this college are participating in a sim-based education research. All of them have approvals for the Institutional Review Board to take place. The simulation time also counts as clinical time. But a learner has opted out of the study. How do you handle this? So I'll let you read it again and provide me kind of your thoughts on this situation. And as your role as a simulationist educator, what would you do in this situation? All right, I'm going to start kind of reading some. So we have some thoughts that possibly an alternative sim experience, or maybe the learner can opt out of the study, but participate still in the simulation. Any other thoughts that you all like to share? Or has anybody had this happen before and how we have some great exemplars too here of they could get the same objectives in a different environment. So how would we meet those same objectives? Okay. If it's mandatory clinical hours and the student doesn't complete them, they should possibly receive an incomplete. Okay. So these are all crucial conversations when you all are thinking about preparedness in your role as an educator. One of the things that we need to look at is from the beginning, as you all are starting out and thinking about a simulation educator, and you're going to have education-based research that also has a layered component of counts towards simulation time, is at the beginning of your curricular planning and your procedures for your institutions, as well as your any institution, kind of thinking about that. What are policies and procedures? But discussions need to occur around what's about the initial planning of the project. How about collaboration with educational institution to anticipate a learner may decline? So have that backup plan. If they decline, how else are they going to get those clinical hours? We want to make sure that ethics is tried and true, that no learner is treated differently or that it impacts their clinical experience or hours or their education. So we want to make sure that that component is there. So it could be, just as you all articulated well, is it could be that all learners will participate and be observed, but the only ones that give consent will actually be part of the research study or be rated or fill out the forms. Okay. I'm going to read some of these other comments here too. Maybe willing to share rationale, respect individual learners opting out may need to complete a clinical day. Yeah, same thing. It's an absence. Okay, so one of the things too to kind of go back to is that procedures, that policy, thinking of that mindset, making sure that the quality exists, but having those crucial conversations ahead of time. So I'm going to stop sharing a minute here. And that really truly was our last slide for that particular learning. This is kind of how we're going to be doing our sessions. And I know it was a lot today in an hour to just go through. So I appreciate you all listening to my combination of Texas, Georgia, and Midwestern voice. And I'm going to stop here and see if y'all have any questions, concerns, thoughts right now that's kind of running through your mind. Or helpful hints or how to enhance your learning experience next time that would also help you during the live session. I knew I threw a lot at you at once, didn't I? The main thing I want to say is thank you for being here and for supporting one another, because that's really truly the meat of this program too. So I'm going to pause, and if y'all have any questions or concerns, Krista.
Yes, hello. Sorry, I don't have my camera on.
No
But
worries.
if anybody else has this question, and forgive me if it's somewhere on Moodle and I just didn't see it, but I was just curious, is there any output that you're, going to expect from us? I thought I saw something about a discussion board. I don't know. And I'm not really seeing it. So I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything as far as expectations beyond, following through the materials.
Correct. So the only expectation is those you set for yourself. What we would like to have you go through is all these modules. You're not going to be rated or scored or an A or a B or a minus. This is all to help you in your own journey. One expectation I would like to encourage everybody is to, at the end of the course, is to complete the evaluation, because the evaluation provides this programmatic evaluation. And then at the end, after the evaluation processes, you'll also then gain access to some additional practice questions. So yeah, sure. I appreciate you asking that. So nobody's going to be scored on here. It's truly immerse yourself as much as possible into the course. And then also whatever learner style you are is what we hope this course is adapted and created for. And then Anne.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm a little older adult learner, and I got to tell you, just being able to break down all the content, because there's so much to learn. I appreciate that. I'm very glad that I'm so sorry. I think it was Krista that just asked part of the question.
Yeah.
Will you be covering I think I missed the beginning part of your entrance into this first hour, but will you be covering, I know that I heard we're not really going over test questions, but you're covering content that is going to help us, achieve a better understanding of content that is going to be, part of that test element.
To assist you to go ahead and look at the areas for growth.
Okay.
For you then to go back to say what do I need to do to ensure that I'm ready to then be prepared for the exam. But it provides content. We discuss the content, and then that application side, because the exam is based on applications. What would you do? What would the prudent simulationist do? So we'll have a combination of that, yes. And then this is recorded, so you can go back as well. There is a firewall between the questions on the exam and what we do here, because I don't need to know what's on the exam. But it helps us prepare you. But if there are times if we go over a question or you look at some practice questions, I'm happy to help you then look at the stem of the question and then what is the question asking. Definitely, I can do that too.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, certainly. Okay.
Sorry, I had another question. I thought you mentioned that there is a textbook that is available to us in the list of resources. Did you mention a book?
So in the actual course that we have here, let me find my
Because I was
website
scrolling through
again.
those tabs and I didn't see what was on your screen. There was a title that doesn't seem to be on the Moodle site, and I just wondered about the title of the book again. I mean, I guess
Yes.
we have
Finding
your-
excellency.
Hold on. Yeah,
Yeah,
we have.
so
here.
we have a reference manual here. Can you see my screen?
Oh,
now?
the Defining Excellence in Simulation Programs. Is that a textbook?
That's a book that you would purchase yourself.
Okay, okay.
Thanks
just
for
that's
asking.
what I thought I heard. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
And
sure.
just to clarify, Kelly, if I can jump in
Yeah.
really quick.
Definitely.
So the blueprint reference manual is an additional purchase for people who don't take the course. The reference manual and Defining Excellence are the only SSH approved resources for the exam itself. But I do want to preface that this course is not a prep course. We are not teaching you. This is all stuff that you should kind of have a surface knowledge of, and we go to a little bit more depth. And like Kelly said, that with the professional development worksheet, that will really help you identify the areas in which that you are comfortable or not comfortable with. And so one question we often get is, how quickly after I take this course can I go take the exam? That's totally up to you. We don't have a timeline set for you. That is completely on how comfortable that you are with the material, and that is the point of this course. It's not to teach you for the exam, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it allows you to have that focus content of how can I focus my preparedness and what would these examples look like, and break down those domains so you have a better understanding of each of those domain items. So when you do have that checklist or development in front of you, also kind of look at the blueprint, and each of the domains are highlighted specifically in there of where you are. Perfect. And I know this course is open through January 4th. So for those who are in America and watch the football playoffs and bowl games, if you're tired of watching the bowl games, you can hop back in before the 4th, before you lose your access. Okay. Thank you again. I look forward to seeing everybody. Thank you for your thoughtful questions. You can come with more. I will check back on the site probably every other day just to see if there are emails or new discussion postings that I need to do to kind of read about, respond to, or to prepare for our next session that we have together.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Have a great rest of your night and have a great week. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Everybody.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Kelly.
Thanks.